You were created to stand out, to be exceptional, to be unique by design. So welcome to Exceptional Living. Well, hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Exceptional Living. I'm your host, April Ripley, and I'm so excited about our very special guest today. But before we get into introductions, I want to remind everyone that this channel is to inform and to inspire, to ignite the greatness that lies within you. And so we hear from global and local thought leaders, change agents that provide insights, tactics, tools that they've used not only in their own lives, but also in working with others. And it's all to empower you to be the best you, to live an exceptional life unique by design. And so in a world where one is conditioned to fit in, know that you, yes, you, were created to stand out. And so I want to thank all of our subscribers who have liked, shared our YouTube channel. I want to encourage you to go back and listen. I just not too long ago received a message from someone and said, I went back to your channel and I looked at some interviews that I missed and I was inspired, and it really spoke to something that I was dealing with in my life. And so that's the purpose, to bring out the greatness that's in you. And so today I am so excited about our very special guest, Charisa Munroe-Wilborn. Wow, I know you're thinking, wait, it's a Munroe? No introduction needed. But yes, because I want you to hear more about this phenomenal, dynamic, and awe-inspiring woman. Charisa Munroe-Wilborn is a motivational and influential speaker, coach, and a Lisa Nichols certified transformational trainer who has activating action in the lives of individuals and organizations through the foundational message of purpose, leadership, hope, and mental wellness. Her global platform has reached nearly 35,000 people. Charisa comes with a great knowledge, experience, and wisdom that's been learned as well as inherited of leadership, purpose, and hope. She's a licensed clinical social worker and certified transformational trainer. Charisa brings empathy, advocacy, proven concepts, and strategies for resourcefulness and the principles of professional and personal growth and development. She provides general counseling services, crisis intervention, mental health therapies, and other key services. Charisa has authored a devotional book entitled 31-Day Devotional Empowerment for Everyday Living. She is the proud wife of Destry Wilborn and mother to Miss Legacy. And these two roles she deems as her most important jobs in the world. So Exceptional Living, please welcome our very special guest, Mrs. Charisa Munroe-Wilborn.
I'm sorry, excuse me, let me stand corrected. Dr. Ripley.
Oh,
it is such a pleasure. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the Exceptional Living show podcast. It is amazing. I've been seeing some of the other interviews and presenters that you've had before, and you're doing great things out here, girl.
Well, thank you. So are you. And of course, we're excited and just honored to have you. Certainly your bio is just like a little piece. I feel like there's this huge picture and that's just like a little piece of the puzzle of what makes up Charisa Munroe-Wilborn, who she is, what she does, what she believes. And so we thank you for being our guest today. And actually, Charisa, that leads me into my first question. You know, many persons know your parents, the late Dr. Miles Monroe and Pastor Ruth Monroe. And so you come from a very rich heritage and legacy. How have you managed to carve your own identity in such a great legacy?
And that's a very interesting question, April, a very good one too, because it can be difficult. it can be hard to find your own way, find your own person and self, your own slice of the pie, if you will, in this already formed and established inheritance, heritage pie that's already created. And it has been challenging, but it hasn't been impossible. I love to say a lot of things in life may be hard, may be difficult, may be challenging, but many, many things are possible. And it has been possible. I had a great leader, a great trainers and teachers in my parents who have made it possible for my brother and I to pave our own path, to create our own way, to discover our own purpose, and to build our own identity in spite of what they may have created already. They have allowed us to do all that on our own. And so we're not copycats of my dad. We're not copycats of my mom. We've been able to kind of venture out and do our own, explore. In my bio, I use 2 words, learned and experience, or learned and inheritance. And there are a lot of things about me that I've inherited. A lot of the information and knowledge I have, I've inherited. But then there's been so much, April, that I've had to learn, so much that I've had to experience on my own, whether I chose to, whether it was involuntary, whether it was because of decisions I made, bad or good, had nothing to do with my inheritance. And I think what makes me, sort of unique, if you will, and I'm actually going to stretch out and say what makes me exceptional is I have those 2 under my belt. I have a lot that I've learned and experienced on my own. And then I have so much that I've inherited from legendary people before me.
Wow. And, Charisa, I think that what you said is true. There are things that we inherit that are inherent, that we inherit. And then those are things that we learn as well. And, knowing your parents and watching them, how they allowed your brother and you to operate in your gift. And I know that's something, sometimes as parents, as adults, it's like you see your children moving. It's like riding on a bicycle, right? You have the training wheels for a little while. And then there's a point when you have to like release and kind of let them go, let them soar into their greatness and discovery. And that's something that I know not only did your parents teach, but they also demonstrated in your life. And we are certainly the better for it. And we are blessed to have this continuing legacy, but also what you're continuing in your own unique kind of DNA. I mean, it makes you think of that, right? So your parents you have a little bit of their DNA, but it's still not the same. It's not the exact. I love something you said about challenging versus impossible. Right. I know you do work in coaching as well. And a lot of times people come to you, to us with like, it's impossible. Like, just, I can't do it, and they don't see the potential of the possible in the impossible. How do you work with people who just find the impossible and don't find the possible?
And before I even start talking about other people, I have to talk about myself first. And I love to be able to put myself first as a leader. I always say leaders go first. We go to the deep first. We throw ourselves out there first. We do the hard things first. And before I even position myself, April, to help others, there's a lot that I went through myself in transforming and having my breakthrough and having to do some unlearning of things that I've learned by experience or even inherited that has allowed me to change my mindset, because it's all in the mind. There's a mindset of I can't. There's a mindset that you have of it's impossible. And growing up as a child, my father, when I say he ingrained, almost brainwashed me into saying and believing that, and his exact words were, there is nothing named can't. Now, I know that's not proper English, but there's nothing named can't. And It's because anytime as a child or even as a teenager, as a young adult, anytime I said, Dad, I can't, or I don't think I can, or I can't, his immediate response was, nothing named can't. Yes, you can. Nothing named can't. Go figure it out. Nothing named can't. I can help you. Nothing named can. Just go and do it. And so I grew up through life saying to myself, nothing named can't. And then I found myself saying the exact same thing to a lot of other people. He never said what you can do is going to be easy. He never said go and find the easy way out or go and find a shortcut. However, he said there's nothing named can't. So you can do whatever it is you're trying to do. You can figure out whatever it is you're trying to figure out. You may fall, you may fail, you may hurt, you may cry, there may be some pain. It may not be easy. It may be difficult, but it's all so much impossible. It's so much possible. And so for me, there were times when I didn't think that I can do something, or I didn't think I was valued enough, or I didn't think that they'll choose me. It's got to be impossible. They won't like me, or I don't think that, notice I'm starting everything with I don't think, because it all was in the mind until someone helped me recognize that you are what you think. Like literally, as much as that sounds a cliche, has so much truth to it. You really are what you think. And nothing changes in your life until you can change your mind. And so when I started changing my mindset and changing my language, and I started realizing I'm not afraid of the fact of it being impossible. I'm afraid of the process not being easy and the possibility of the unknown and the fact that I'm scared. That is what is making it seem impossible. That just means that there are hurdles and mountains and hills, but getting to the other side is always possible. And so I encourage my coaching clients to let's change your language. If we can change your language, we can change your attitude. If we can change your attitude, then we can change your actions. If we can change your actions, then we can produce the greatest results. But we have to always backtrack to what are you thinking? If you can think that it's not that it's impossible, it's just hard.
Mm-hmm.
I can do possibility. I can also do hard. It just means it's going to be hard. And that's it. That's it. Just going to be hard. Hard never killed anybody.
That's right.
Hard may have broken you, but it never killed you. And sometimes, like I said, I had to go through a few breakthroughs of my own. Sometimes we have to go through those broken moments and see ourselves go through a breakthrough, put our minds and attitudes through a breakthrough to get the results that we want. So the possibilities and the results, the process may not always be easy.
Yeah, and that's so good because you're right, because it's the process. It's the process that seems impossible. It's the process that seems hard. And depending on where we have our mind, what we think in our mind, how we self-talk, right? Who's around us, who talks to us, that we allow to speak into our lives, all this forms our thought life and our thought patterns, our ideologies. And we say, oh, I just have to jump this hurdle. Okay, well, then I just need to learn how to jump hurdles. Speaking of that, we're in springtime and there's track and you see the person's running on the track with hurdles. And I know I used to look and go, why would you want to jump hurdles? But they don't look at it like that. They look at, okay, I'm going to have to jump this hurdle. So I need to practice jumping the hurdles. I go through the process and they practice, how to jump over the hurdles.
And like with everything, as I think about hurdles, I'm thinking about hurdles and I'm saying to myself, that's one thing I could never do. I literally just said, I can never do it. Well, the reason why I can't do it is because it doesn't come natural to me. Whereas it comes natural to some people, and maybe not even natural to them. What they did was they put in the work, they put in the hours, they put in the practice, they put in the rehearsal. That's their gift and that's their skill. So I understand that that's their lane. Mm-hmm. However, if I wanted to jump a hurdle, I just need to put in the practice. I need to go through the hard and difficult and challenging process. Doesn't mean that I can't jump over one hurdle once. Now, right. I'm not going to try and jump over 3 and 4 and 5. But what I'm not going to say is I can't jump over a hurdle.
Right.
I may have to fall down and break a knee a few times, get some bruises before I jump over that one.
That's right.
But before my life ends, I'm going to jump over one.
Yes. Yes. And that's true, right? It doesn't mean, and I think that's something too that, we talk about, and I know in your work and in social work and in coaching as well, people often look at other people who you say may have a propensity to jump hurdles. They may be a little taller, so maybe jumping the hurdle is easier than someone who may be a little bit more petite. And again, too, it's also the mindset. It's how you perceive what it is you're looking at, because we all in our life have hurdles to go through. And some of us are able to go through those hurdles, more privately, some more publicly. And I know for you, it was both, right? There was this publicized loss with your parents. And so even taking that time for private going through and, working through things. And I think about your work and what you did for other people. Now it was you, working through this yourself. So what the teacher had been teaching, it was now time for us to apply that to our own lives. And it's not easy when it's you, right? You're standing in the mirror. It's different than when you're looking at someone else. And so I know there are people who are watching who say, how do you work through the setback, this disappointment, whether it's public or if it's private? How do I get over that hurdle? Or do I ever really get over it? Do I have to cope, manage it? How do I do that?
And that's one of those questions that's very, everyone is different. Everybody's threshold is different. Everybody's pain tolerance is different. I want to actually answer the back part of your question first, because even as a social worker, I'm having to wrestle with everything I learned in my social work books and everything I learned in my social work classes and in school, because you are exactly right. They teach us to teach our clients how to cope. Mm-hmm. And that means I get to cope with whatever it is I'm so-called dealing with. And I say so-called dealing with because that means I'm coping with whatever I accept is an issue or a problem. And I'm changing even my way of thinking, April, because there are a lot of things that we don't have to accept. We don't have to accept the diagnosis. We don't have to accept the book declaration and description of what we may be feeling. We don't have to accept a particular feeling or emotion. Therefore, if I don't accept it, then I don't have to cope with it. And then I don't have to be forced to cope with it for any long period of time as though it's something permanent or as though it's the life I'm going to have going forward. Absolutely not. So what I have been trying to do for myself and for others is, yes, there is a point where I can no longer have to cope with a particular feeling or emotion or diagnosis. Grief is a part of my life, or has been a part of my life now, but I refuse to believe and speak and act as though it's going to always be a part of my life going forward because I lost my parents so suddenly. Absolutely, I did. There is a grieving process that I will go through, but I don't want to hold on to, man, I will be forever grieving. Like, that is what I used to say. I will never stop grieving. I don't ever want to have to cope with it, because there can be a point in time where I've worked through it. I've allowed myself to go through the process. I've allowed myself to feel all of my feelings, taking the time that I've needed. And then there's going to come a point when someone can say, man, are you still grieving? No, I'm not. I've done that already. I have grieved them. It was hard. This is what it's looked like. Now I'm at a place where I no longer grieve them. I miss them. Two totally different things. I still wish they were here. Two totally different things. But I'm no longer grieving them. And everybody's grieving process, for instance, can be short, long, lifetime, not just a few years, a few days, a few months. Everyone is different. So I never speak to, you're going to grieve for a certain amount of time. But using that example, you don't want to say, well, I'm coping with. I'm coping with depression. I don't ever want any of my clients or community to believe that they must cope with what it is they're dealing with, versus you can get through and get past where you're at to a better place. You have to sometimes go through. And so I have to go through my grieving process. It may be taking me 8 years, as it still is, but where I am now in my grieving process versus where I was in year one is a very, very big difference.
Yeah, you're right, Charisa. The coping leads one to think that they accept the down, that there's no way up, right? Like, I've heard it said often that, when your back's against the wall, guess what? There's only forward. Or when you're knocked down to the ground, look up, right? So seeing it as something that you accept to go through the process, that you can overcome at different stages. And like you said, you'll always miss them because they were such an integral part of your life. And I remember, being in the Bahamas that day, what it was for that night, for day one, day two, we don't discredit that. But what you just shared with us is so salient that we don't have to accept the finality of this being something that I will eternally have to wrestle with at the same degree or level that I did initially when it happened. Because you have emotions, they were given to us, right, by God, for us to express ourselves, but having to learn how to use those emotions, how to channel them positively, and then take a moment. People forget that, Jesus wept. It was something we used to always say, like, get a scripture. We always were looking for the shortest one, right? It says that he was touched with the feelings of persons' infirmities, physically, mentally, socially. So he had this connection to people because of some of the things that they were going through, whether they were visible or even what he talked about, right? I'm here for those who are brokenhearted. Like, we don't always see someone who's brokenhearted, right? Some people act out or we can see evidence, but sometimes they're just working next to you in a cubicle and they're going through some things, right? And that our love for God and God's love for us allows us to work through, and he works with us so that we can, be victorious, can overcome. And again, I hear you saying all the time, throughout these few minutes, you've shared with us something also that's very important. It's what you say to yourself. And there is no can't, but it's what you say to yourself, and that you have conditioned your mind that when you hear something that's negative, hear something that's people would say is impossible, to reframe that, to say, maybe I don't see the solution for it now, or the opportunity to find the answer, but it's there. There's a problem. There is an answer, and so I'm going to work through it. And I know for you, you're a woman in the industry, right? In the industry of coaching, certainly, and just all the things that you're involved in. What do you find for women? What have you observed for women in the industry? Some tips that you would share for women who are in the coaching space and working through with other clients.
Women are powerful. Let me say that first of all. I think there are so many women that don't even understand the intensity, the full nature and true nature of the power that they have and possess just as women. And I can say that, April, because we're moving into an era of mankind and the evolution of mankind to where women are forcing. I see a lot of women who are believing that they have to force their way and force their power through doors and through windows and in rooms, not recognizing that just because you are a woman by creation, when you are in a room, a certain weight and a certain level of power already exists. And then men have their own level of power that naturally exists. And I say this because social work is definitely one of those. Social work, counseling, therapy is one of those areas of the world, but also area of the field and the playground that is dominated by women. So very rarely will you see man, and when you see a man, it's kudos and hats off to him, because that also means that he needs to be in touch with his feelings. Women, we are a ball of feelings. We are made up of emotions, or 95% of that. And then the other 5 is everything else. And men is the opposite. They are 95% hard and strong. And the other 5% may be some feelings and emotions that they express. But we as women tend to dominate this field. And I see a lot of men now who are coming into the coaching field and the therapeutic field and the social work field. And it's so good to have that, because there's so many men that are suffering even more so than women, but men have been taught not to express themselves emotionally. And so they are not wanting to express themselves to women because they don't want to be looked at or disrespected or feel undervalued. Whereas if they're able to talk man to man with someone else who is willing to touch their feelings with them, then that makes it more of an opportunity for men to save themselves. The suicidal rate right now, April, is so high, especially among what I'm going to call your high functioning leaders, men and women, especially men. The last few suicides that I've heard from on a celebrity level or on a high functioning level have been men who have either been CEOs, who have been presidents of companies, and I'm talking these enterprise companies, who are great leaders. And you would think, man, why are they committing suicide? Why are they thinking that what they're going through is the end of the world? They have all the money, they have all the fame, they have the position, therefore they should be happy, they should be content, and they should be satisfied. And that is usually not true. And I'm talking about men because there's a part of me as a woman who understand that my women counterparts, we are good. We will be good. We will always have each other. But there are so many men that need to be reached and supported and lifted and seen, because we see them, but we see them as these macho men who have no issues, when really and truly they do. They have all of their feelings. They have all of their emotions. There's just no space in the area. There's no space in the ethos for them to express when you have so much women expressing. So when I look at women in the industry and I talk about the power that we have, I enjoy that there are more women who are recognizing their power. And by just showing up, by just being there, by allowing themselves to use their gifts and manifest their potential, but also recognize that the power that I have as a woman is very different than the power that a man has as a man. And so when you talk about us just showing up and being able to change a room, being able to move a room, being able to turn an idea into fruition, being able to see what was just a seed and now take that through the process and see the plant and the tree and the forest. Like, that's what we get to do as women. Just naturally. We don't have to push. We don't have to fight, or we no longer have to fight. We no longer have to try. Like, we naturally have that as leaders because of the way that we were created by God, whose design is always perfect.
Yes. And so many things there, Charisa. Like, yes, women naturally, right? Even when we give seed in our womb, nourishment, incubation, protection, even the connection of how the mother feeds the baby, all these things just from a biological perspective, but even in the community, the village, right? You educate a village by educating a woman, the power of the female. And we don't need to underestimate that. We have historically been of great influence, right? From history, we We caused a Trojan War. Women have just always had this influence. That's how God is another attribute that gave us the power of influence. And we certainly shouldn't underestimate or go into rooms, as you said, and feel that we're an imposter, right? This imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong? Yes. I'm like you, Charisa. I go into a room where I'm invited. I'm like, yes, I belong here. Yes, this door is open. Yes, this conversation, this dialogue. I have something to contribute, right? I bring agency into this room, into this environment. And I also have the power of influence to change the environment. And that's with men and women, but we're speaking a little bit toward women at the moment. And to your point about men and the high rate, we've seen it on social media, persons who are very, famous, these men. I mean, recently here in Atlanta, the CEO of a very large company walked in front of a moving, vehicle and just, and sometimes we say why. We don't know all the why, but I think to your point, you're saying that don't just think that women are going through, but men are as well. And so there are groups, there are organizations that are allowing men the space to speak and to express, but also to support. And so what I hear you saying is that, it's still a community. It's male and female, women and men coming together, but also having those spaces where we can share things as women with women, where men can share things, men to man, and say, this is what we're going through and how can we work it out together? And that's powerful. I think, again, going back to what you said earlier, what do you say, how you perceive something, how you speak to yourself, how you see it as there's nothing they can't. I wrote that down. And I hope everyone who's watching wrote that down.
It is true. It's so true. And, there's something you said, April, that I want to touch on, because you said, we don't know why anyone would commit suicide. We don't know why, that gentleman would have jumped in front of a moving vehicle. And we'll never know why, but we truly can ask the why. And I tell you why, because the why is so important. When I think about exceptional, there's a reason why Jesus is so exceptional. Even when I think about the scripture you talked about where it says Jesus wept and why he was weeping, the why to that gentleman jumped in the front of that moving vehicle, it was lost along the way. So when we're asking why, we're asking why would he do that? He's asking, why am I here? And somewhere along the way, he lost his why. And because he lost his why, his question to himself, why am I here, is legit. And when he came up with zilch, he was like, then there's no reason for me to be. And imagine if Jesus had lost his why, mixing all the emotions of his feelings for us. But he was so exceptional to have those feelings, have that pain, express those pain, cry and weep in pain. But the why he was created and why he was here, it is what stopped him from aborting the mission. And that is what would make each and every one of us exceptional if we never walk away from the why. It is the why that makes us exceptional in those moments that seem dark and black, in those moments that seem challenging and difficult. Yes, this is dark. Yes, this is black. Yes, this is challenging. This process, I don't like it, but my why is going to keep me going. It's going to allow me to wake up in the morning. It's going to allow me to take the next breath or take the next step. Like that why is what's going to allow me to say, okay, I'm not going to take today and walk in front of a moving vehicle because my why is so much more important and so big, it's so much bigger than me and far more valued than what I may be feeling at the moment. So my heart goes out to any time I hear of someone aborting their life and aborting their mission, because I know it all goes back to they have lost, not their way, they have lost their why, their purpose, their reason for being, or they have lost the answer to why am I here?
So you talk about identity.
Mhm.
right? And purpose for being. And you're right. When we see those things, that meant that they could no longer see, right? Their vision, their inner vision was blocked by a circumstance, a situation, whatever that is. We don't know. That was something personal. But they got to the point where you said they aborted their life because they lost their why. They couldn't find it. They couldn't find their reason for being, their purpose. And it's even their significance, right? That we're created with significance, brought to the earth. And your dad would often say that, we are here, we are an answer to a problem in our generation. And that becomes our why, our discovery process as well, right? What is this that we're here to solve? But to see that a person has aborted their life because they lost their why. So thinking of that, Charisa, and again, the work that you do, how do you find your why? How do I find it? Because I know we get that all the time. How do I find my why? Why am I here?
And I love that you asked me that question, because it allows me to help everybody else at the sound of this. It's a podcast. At the sound of this show, at the sound of what you and I are presenting, to help them unlearn the very concept of the fact that my why is lost. So even that question that you asked, April, needs to be reframed and rephrased. How do I find my why? When you talk about how do I find my why, it indicates that it's been lost. And I am a strong believer that there's no loss, there's no lose. Like everything God creates is perfect. And the fact that we are here means that, remember now, God always starts with the end in mind. And then he backs up. So by the time he created you and I, and by the time we were born, our why, our purpose has already been established. So there's no losing, there's no loss. It's pretty much there. What do we need to do as we get older, as we mature, as we grow, as we get closer to him, who is going to now start to show us and expose what we are to do? There is some uncovering. So the word I prefer over discover is, how do I uncover my why? How do I uncover the layers that have been protecting the why that God sent with me? Because when he sent me here, he sent me with my why already on the inside of me. He sent me with my why already established, already found, already present, just waiting for me to uncover the layers. Whether it's uncovering the layer of age, as I get older, more of my purpose is exposed, or whether it's uncovering the layer of maturity. I have to go through some things. I have to build my character. It could be uncovering the layer of fear, or the idea that because I'm afraid, this can't be my purpose, it's too big. No, just understanding that I get to do it scared. That's a part of being exceptional. Or whether we are uncovering the layer of the unknown. I don't want to move in any direction because I don't know what's going to happen or what's on the other side. Versus saying, man, the unknown is beautiful. And the only way for me to know what's on the other side is to make that step, or take that jump, or take that leap. And so there are all of these layers, and understanding what it is that, what are my gifts? Maybe I need to uncover the layer of my potential. What are my gifts? What are my talents? What's going to be manifested? And as soon as I touch something and see something, what is it that makes me angry? Like my dad always says, one of the things that's very attached to your purpose is what makes you angry. What do you go to bed thinking about all the night, all the time? Another question I like to ask to help uncovering your purpose is, whose success do you want to see? Not how do you want to be successful? Who do you want to see successful? So for me, I work with both men and women, but a lot of women, because I want to see women striving in their gift and in their talents, but also in their influence. So that's who I want to see successful. So that's usually the driving force of my target audience. Like, I'm after the women because there's so much power in women. when I think about, other powerful modules in the coaching industry or the evangelical industry, like their person of who they want to see successful can be just the male or can be the youth. My husband, for instance, he wants to see young boys become great men, staying out of the jail and the prison system, striving and aspiring to be who they want to be. That is his purpose. That is who he wants to see succeed. So he goes after them. He had to uncover that layer for himself and ask, who do I want to see? Yes, he wants to make sure that everyone succeeds, but for him, he's after the men. So that's just some of the questions and some of the layers that I normally go through with my clients. And I go through each one of these layers and each different question to help them uncover what it is that they really and truly should be doing, why they were here. And then I start to ask these questions and they start to answer, but then they also say to themselves, I never looked at it that way. People always look at purpose as this far-fetched thing that's so far out or that's so deep down that we can't get it. Versus a matter of, man, it's 5 layers lower than the first 5 you just need to remove. And by the time you've answered 5 questions or you've removed 5 layers, then boom, the beaming light of why you were created is very much there.
Oh, I love that. Uncover. So it's already there. So you're uncovering purpose, you're uncovering why. And in that process too, Charisa, I think you also discover different things about yourself that you didn't know as you pull back this layer and as you pull back and uncover another layer. The question you ask, who do I want to see successful? It's a powerful question. And I also think that it is reflective of God's love. He talked about his mission, where he was sent. He said it over and over and over. And you'll hear persons that have uncovered their purpose say, I don't like to see hungry children, or I don't want to see, and we know Destry is very much about young men, yes, and keeping them out of the system, that they don't have to be statistics or what other people say they will become, that they can change that narrative themselves with purpose and certainly with a support system. And for you with women, yes, I love seeing women to be successful. For me, especially those who are in public leadership, those who are in government and governance, I want to see it, because those are rooms that for many years have been predominantly male. And so working with them, counseling them, it has been a joy. And I love to hear them share, guess what happened? Like, this is how I handle this. We talked about this, and to hear them and to see them uncovering, as you said, their purpose, but also in that finding more, more esteem, more, because it's like anything, like once you learn to do something and you do well at it, you feel like, okay, I can do this next thing. And it's celebrating, as they say, the smaller wins, right? That I accomplished this. And again, it goes back to perspective. That's what you really started off, telling us, that it's important. How we look at things is so important. The image, right? That God created this imago Dei, that we are his image, and how powerful images are. Powerful enough to encourage, to inspire, to build up, but also powerful in other ways, right? To destroy and break down. And so what we put in front of us, whether it's with our eye gates, what we see, what we hear, and even what we say to ourselves, all these things are either building or deconstructing. And that's the power of words. And I know our time is coming close to an end, Charisa, but I would love for you to share with our audience maybe 2 or 3 things that have really guided your life, that you say that these are my top 3 things. This is what has guided my life. Would you share those with us?
I am. they're guided seasons of my life. Because when 10 years ago, I may have had one value, and then earlier on, it may have been something else that guided. And then now I'm at a space where what's guiding me now didn't need to guide me back then. But one of the things that I'm really, really holding on to right now, April, which is actually something that I'm teaching my coaching clients, I've actually put it into a program, is this whole concept of perfection. And when I think about even the name of your show, your podcast of exceptional living, like what it is to be exceptional, it doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean perfect. And I've had to, like, literally, I am on this show as a recovering perfectionist. Okay. I've had to break myself down from always striving to be perfect. And I say that because there's been so much time and so much energy that I've wasted trying to be perfect. And so I encourage people, as I've been encouraging myself, to don't strive to be perfect. Like, perfect is almost a destination you will never reach to. We are not God. God made us already that. To him, we are perfect. To God, we are his perfect creation, just the way that he made us. That is the height of it. What he would want us to strive to do is be excellent. And so I strive for excellent in everything I do, in everything I touch, especially now. There was a point in my life where if it wasn't perfect, April, I wasn't moving. If it wasn't perfect, I wasn't touching it. If it wasn't perfect, I wasn't acting. If it wasn't perfect, I wasn't moving into action. I wasn't putting the design out. I wasn't doing anything if it wasn't perfect. And then I realized, then Charisa, you would never put out anything. You will always hold back. And the day that I decided, okay, perfection is not going to be my destination, I'm actually after excellence, then I started doing so much more. I started taking the action, taking the leap, putting out the program, doing the thing that I want to create, putting out the design. And I started realizing that I get to excel, and I get to over excel, and every time I put something out, I'm after excellence. And that is what started to make me more exceptional in this season of my life than it did back then. So before we go for perfection, always reach for excellence. The other thing that I would encourage everyone on this, those listening, is even the idea of balance. There was a season in my life when I was after balancing everything. I want to balance my work life and my school life. I want to balance my personal life and my work life. I want to find balance and balance and balance. And I'm coming to realize, April, that when you are trying to balance something, like, I don't know if you ever try to balance a weight scale. The thing about balancing is something has to come to a halt, a stop, in order for you to then now balance it with something else. Life is always moving. So I find that it was more important for me to find the right alignment than it was for me to find the right balance. Why I like finding the right alignment is because absolutely nothing has to stop moving. I just need to make sure that the pieces that I'm trying to align are making sense with each other. So therefore, my decisions need to be according to what it is that I'm trying to align. So in aligning with my, being married, with being a CEO and being a president, or being the president of a nonprofit, now being a mother, like all of those things, I can't stop being married to be a mother. I can't stop being a mother to still be the president of our nonprofit. I can't stop being the president of our nonprofit to be the CEO of my company. I actually have to be all those things at once. Then how do I make sure that they are all aligned? Once they are aligned, then I get to do them all and not be stressed, not be overwhelmed, and they'll automatically balance themselves out. Sometimes the things that we are trying to align are wrong. Imagine if in the things I just mentioned, being the president, being the CEO, being a wife, and being a mother, and then I throw in there, I just got a new motorbike, therefore I'm now a cyclist. Where in the world is me having a new motorbike gonna fit into the things I just mentioned? You're talking about this thing now that is very high risk. The possibility of death and injuries are imminent. The time I'm gonna have to spend to learn, like, it doesn't fit. So because it doesn't fit, it is out of alignment. So it's not so much us balancing the things that are there as it is to making sure that the things that we have present in our lives are in alignment, and balance then will be automatic. And the third thing, if I had to mention one thing, and I want to talk about exceptional, I think about what exceptional is to me. I know that was one of your questions, is exceptional. And I'm going to go back to the I dare an example of Jesus, April. Being exceptional is doing it scared. Being exceptional is moving in the place of unknown. And being exceptional is being okay with going through your breakdown in order to experience your breakthrough so that you can help someone else. I know that was a mouthful. I can't say it again. You're going to have to press replay.
No, yes, no. Okay, 3 things. Be excellent. I hope everyone's writing this down. This is true. Because I think you and I we're aligned in that too about perfectionism, right? We just and for those who are watching, this is not a bashing for persons who are perfectionists. The underlying thread of that is that you just want it done right. You want it done in a way that is, reflective of you, the organization. But as Charisa just shared with us, do it in an excellent way so that when you strive for excellence, it'll stand out. It may not be perfect. Maybe you have to tweak a few things, but be excellent. 2, balance and alignment. And that's so important, Charisa. I'm glad you mentioned you better not be on a motorbike.
Exactly.
I know whose influence that will be, but we will keep.
Exactly. So even you are looking at me and saying to me, you better not be. It's because you know all the things that I'm doing. So it's even a phenomenon to you, like, nah. It's totally out of alignment.
That's not alignment. But alignment is important. And I think that too is part of understanding what to say yes to and what to say no to. Mm-hmm. So because once you have your purpose, you have your vision, you create a vision for your life, things that don't come into alignment, like into a driving lane, right? You're going this way. Whenever a car, the other day I was driving, I was like, okay, car, you are in my lane, right? Like, you stay over there. Only people who are supposed to be in this lane, we're going in the same direction. Those are the ones who are coming. And that's what our life is. So we know what to say yes to, what to say no to. And then also there can be surprises, right? Even in that, sometimes things come along, we're thinking, I don't know, do I? I mean, and then they come in and they kind of change, and you see where it was kind of a means to align that you didn't see it that way. I like to see them sometimes as like God's little, surprise, not in the package that you thought it would be in, but I got you. I still got you, right? And then the third is sometimes you just do it afraid, like you do it in the unknown. Not fear is paralyzing, but fear is kind of this, what does the quote say, is like, it's being able, I think President Mandela said this, it's not, courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing it even while you're not sure, even when you don't have all the answers. You just see this vision. And I love this, Charisa, because like you said, God sees the end. And so he gives us this vision. So we see it out. It's like the destination we're going to. And something I would definitely hear your parents talk about is, God doesn't expose you to what he doesn't have planned for you. So when he shows you this, in my life, different things have happened. I'm like, okay, God, but you showed me this. Like, I don't believe you would have showed me this if you didn't want me to experience it, to manifest it. And so I have to trust you that things will align, that I'll do things in an excellent way. But sometimes there is going to be an unknown because I don't know everything, but you do, Father. Mm-hmm. And so I trust you because you have entrusted to me this purpose, these gifts, these talents, and I just want them to be excellent. I want to represent you here in the earth because, Charisa, we are God's walking love letters to the world. When you think about that, right? People look at us in life, it's like a love letter that we write from God through our lives. And so these are certainly things that I think exceptional living is not about perfection, as you said. It is living a life that's unique by design, as God has designed each of us uniquely, but it is living in a way where there is joy, there is love, there is comfort, there is community in times of need. And certainly it is sometimes just doing it when we don't have all the answers, but being at peace with that. And so, wow, what a phenomenal day interview. I mean, very potent, powerful, poignant, so many words to start with P, we can go down. But certainly on behalf of Exceptional Living, want to thank you for taking the time, investing your time in sharing with us to see us become what we were created to become. And as we come to a close, I would ask you one question that I find interesting, and it is this. What would the woman you are today say to the girl that you were?
What would the woman I am today say to the girl that I used to be, that I were? Ooh, that's good. There's so many things. What would I tell my younger self? It's pretty much.
Yes. What would you tell your younger self?
The woman today, to be very honest, you're probably going to be shocked I'm going to say this, but the woman that I am today would probably tell my younger self, ooh, why am I scared to say it? This is crazy. The woman I am today, what would I tell my younger self? There's like a million things that are coming to mind. I probably would have told my younger self to start a family much sooner than I did. Yes.
Interesting.
I would have told that girl way back when to, yes, getting a degree, having things for yourself is good, but sharing your life and starting your family with a man and having children can be even such a greater experience, can be even such a greater key to then building the rest of your life. Yes.
Wow. Yes.
This is the me now who did all of that much older. And if I can do it again, I would just do this literally 20 years ago.
Oh. Well, no, you're right. You may have shocked us all by hearing that. But that's your life. And that is certainly something that we can all think about. And for those who are watching again, she's not saying if you've got a degree and you're still not, like, that's it. She's speaking of her experience. I'm going to disclaim what Charisa said in the sense of this is her talking to the young woman that she was. So this is her story, and you can't say nothing about it.
And it's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's it, and she's sticking to it. But even in God's grace, you have a wonderful family, a beautiful young legacy, and a distinguished gentleman. In case Destry is watching.
Indeed.
Brother, right? So God has certainly blessed you. And so we here again, thank you on behalf of all of us at Exceptional Living. Thank you for investing your time, sharing with us. And so we speak, we decree and declare blessing into your life, into the work of your hands, your seed, and everything that your hand touches is blessed, that your territory and influence expand, and that all the years that maybe you would have started earlier, that God redeems the time, and that you continue to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, do, have dominion, and that there is great peace. His goodness and mercy continues to follow you. His blessings are new every morning to you. And so we celebrate you. We honor you for the woman that you are, the legacy that you represent, but also the legacy that you are building with your family and the countless thousands of lives that you have touched, but even those that you are yet to touch. So we thank you again. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I received that. I received that. Thank you so much. I celebrate you.
Thank you.
For what you're doing here is very, very good work.
Thank you.
And I hope that everything that you need to continue this, what you're doing, God has already perfected. He has already excelled it. He has already provided for. And anything that I can do to support, please, I'm here. So congratulations.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Exceptional living. I told you, our guest today, dynamic, a phenom, an awe-inspiring woman. And so we're so excited, Charisa Munroe-Wilborn, for what she shared. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for continuing to like, subscribe, and support this channel, which is for you, that you are a unique expression of God in the earth. And God has placed something in you that he felt the world should not do without. And so thank you for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. God bless.